Hi, this is Jenny Bruce with John Broughton on Retrospectives on 3SER KC Radio.
Musical family growing up.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone, especially on my dad's side, played some instrument, anywhere from piano to bagpipes. It's a very musical bunch. Actually, on both sides of my family.
I read where you credited a piano in your house as your initial inspiration to get into music.
Yeah, we have a big Mason and Hamlin piano, the grand piano, and none of us really plays that well, but we all play. And it's something, from the age of about 3 or 4, I started writing songs on that piano, and, I would lie under it when my dad would play and my mom would play, and it was sort of the center of our apartment.
Do you think things would be different today if that piano wasn't there?
I don't think the piano could have not been there. I don't think. I'm sure my father couldn't have lived without having a piano. It was just, and they were broke at the time when they bought it too, and it was quite a find. It's a really gorgeous piano, but it was absolutely essential to him to have it there. And I can't be in an apartment or in a home without a piano. It's really just it's vital.
An essential.
So it's kind of a, it just wouldn't have happened. I can't venture a guess.
Yeah. Well, when did you start songwriting, and what do you recall of your earliest songwriting efforts?
Well, I'm not kidding. I started writing songs when I was my sister and I both used to write songs constantly together. We'd write really silly songs, and I actually wrote out my first song at 5. It was called Horses on a Snowy Day, and it was it was a work for 2 people because I hadn't quite mastered, playing the bass notes, and I was, kind of a clunky piano player, which I still am, and I would make my little sister go and play, half of it, and I would play the other half, and, did an illustrated manuscript of this song, which I still have today. It's pretty silly.
No, I guess it's been about 10 years now since you released your first record. Would that be about right?
I'm sorry, 10 years from what?
Since your first record?
Yeah, I guess oh my goodness. Yeah, it has been. I guess it was 97. Yeah, yes it has.
Back then, did you have a plan of where you wanted your career to be in, say, now, 10 years' time?
No, honestly, I just wanted to make a record, and that's kind of how I've always lived my life. If I want to do something, I do it. I'm not, maybe at a fault, not a goal-oriented person. It's maybe one of the reasons why I'm still a clunky piano player. I never really set out to become, a great piano player or prodigious player. I wanted to play songs, so I sat down and learned by ear, and have just been playing ever since. And my important goal is, if I have something to say, is to write about it and hopefully get a chance to record it and perform it, and that's just what I do.
What would you consider your first break in terms of a moment where you realised that, yes, you could make a sustainable career out of this?
I'm not sure. I guess about 15 or so years ago, I lived in France, and I started performing in clubs around Paris, and I guess that was when I really realized, people actually will pay me to do this and sing songs, and that was very eye-opening and so much fun, and had some cover bands, but also started taking the material that I've been writing for years and years and performing it, and very, very, with a lot of trepidation at first, and then realized, people kind of like it, so just kept doing it, and that, I don't know. It is really hard to make a living as an independent musician, but I've been really lucky, and TV and film has been kind to me, and just plugging away.
You spent some time as a singing waitress when you were in France?
I did, yeah. I worked in I think it's still there. It's a club called the Hollywood Savoy, and all of the waiters and waitresses are Anglophone. There were actually some Australians and some Brits and quite a few Americans, and you would be waiting tables, and all of a sudden they'd be, and now Jenny Bruce is going to sing a song, and I'd have to throw, here's your dessert, woo, and then fly up on the stage and, do a little set and, call out to people, hey, could you get table 10s, things are waiting over there. And it was a really posh, expensive restaurant, too. It was just such a strange formula. I guess it's still working because it's still there. It's behind the stock exchange in Paris.
And you did some busking there too, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I used to sing in the subways that was always kind of a challenging experience. The French police are really pretty tough on subway buskers, so me and my friends would go flying around. Other buskers would come by and say, "Look, they're coming. You had to quickly move to another location before you got caught. But that was really fun. There were so many great tunnels and places to sing it's not like the New York subway. It's such a quiet subway system, and I used to love just finding a really good spot, and people would come from really far away and be like, "Oh my God, I was down at this station and I could hear you singing. I wanted to hear where that was coming from." That could not happen in New York City. Definitely could not.
Looking back, though, do you think those experiences helped you in terms of developing your confidence as a stage performer?
Yeah, I guess everything does, right? That's what life is, just an accumulation of these experiences that make you who you are. And definitely, I actually made one of my friends come and sit with me the first time I went to the subway because I was so afraid not of being in the subway, but of opening my mouth and singing. I just didn't know what was going to happen, and definitely it took years to build up my confidence to really get out there and do it.
Now, you mentioned you have had songs included in television and movies. Have you sought out those types of situations, or have they just come to you, and how have they helped you in terms of your wider exposure?
Well, I didn't really actively seek them out. I've just had some really nice people who have kind of handed over my material to the right people, and have just been fortunate with a couple of placements. I know Dawson's Creek was one of the best ones for me. That one really expanded my audience quite a bit because it was such a popular TV show, and it's still in, what is that word? It's
syndication.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it is. And that was probably the first thing that kicked it off, and that had a song from my first album. And then I got quite a few things from my second album as well, and it's just, in addition to expanding my audience, it also is a great source of revenue for independent musicians now that TV and film have caught on to the fact that we're out there, and there's a lot of great material that isn't tapped into. It's become a really good resource for us.
Sure.
So, in that respect, and I do have people showing up at shows or emailing me saying they heard my music here or there. And do you know who Martha Stewart is in Australia?
Yeah.
Is she known? Here she's obviously notorious and well known both. But she put a song of mine called "Home" for my second CD on a compilation called "Sleepy Time" for new parents, and that is something that really gave me quite a bit of exposure. It's a great baby shower gift, and a lot of people were turned on to my music from that. It's also got songs from Alison Krauss and Bare Naked Ladies and Lucinda Williams. It's a really great, having nothing to do with babies, CD. It's just a really nice album.
Is it something you'd like to take further, though? Perhaps, writing a soundtrack for a film, or?
I don't know. Again, as I mentioned, I'm not a really schooled musician, so not very trained. I would love to. I have done I've written actual songs for films, but I've never done real scoring. I think that I'm sure I could fudge my way through it, but actually I know a wonderful Australian artist, Rachel Gaudry, who is branching out into that area, and I listened to her stuff recently on MySpace, and I was like, I don't think I could do that. It was really very elaborate string arrangements. It was quite gorgeous, and I'm really a songwriter. That's what I do.
One area where you've also had success is in the various songwriting awards and competitions.
Sure, yeah.
How competitive do those competitions get?
Oh, well, you have to go by what they tell you, but they say they get, anywhere from 5,000, tens of thousands of submissions, and as you can guess, it's open to anyone, so, there's probably a lot of nonsense, and then there's, but I know they are pretty competitive, and I certainly have submitted things to contests and won nothing, so I guess I am very grateful when I have received awards, and it is what it is, but that also just adds a little bit of street cred to whatever you're doing to be able to tag that on that you won this award or that. But it's, again, those things are kind of silly. You get nice prizes and it sounds good, but it is what it is.
I was interested to read about the artist collective that you set up a few years ago, Urban Muse.
Urban Muse,
Yes.
yeah,
That's still
is
going?
something. It's not, but for the really great reason that everyone got really busy and everyone's careers, because of this collective, kind of took off in really great ways, and it was just an amazing thing that we did. It was, I'm forgetting, I think we were 7 or 8, it sort of fluctuated, female singer-songwriters, and we all were just kind of drifting around and lacking community in New York City and needing a resource and sounding boards, and we found each other. Joe Davidson and I really felt a need to do this, and so we called together a bunch of people, and it was amazing. We met, and we just sit and have a drink of wine and talk about mostly music stuff, how to deal with producers and record labels and distribution and all kinds of nitty-gritty. And, sometimes one of us would be having a personal meltdown and then the whole meeting would be about that. But it was just really weird how it affected all of us and how we all just sort of trampolined from there.
I guess if you're all are too busy now to be involved in it, it's probably served its purpose.
It did. I guess
Yeah.
it made us sad that, we don't get to see each other. Everyone's two babies, so my wings are temporarily and willingly clipped, and I'm sort of the New York home base, and I get to see the girls when they stop by, and we get to go to each other's shows here.
I was speaking to another singer-songwriter a while ago, and they said to me there are so many singer-songwriters out there. There are probably more singer-songwriters than there are fish in the sea. What are the frustrations of trying to stand out, being an independent artist, and trying to stand out from the crowd when there are so many of that genre out there?
Well, I think it's an impossible game. It's you just have to do what you do, and know that if you're meant to go to a next level, then you will. I mean, I just read in some rag, I don't know what it was, that there was an English pub singer and George Clooney popped in and thought she was great, and now she's, got record labels snapping at her heels, and, it just, these things happen or they don't, and it's not, you can't do it because you can't not do it because there are too many singer-songwriters, and you can't force yourself to be something that you're not, so it's really, it's sort of a non-game, and it's almost a non-issue. There are, I know so many amazing singer-songwriters out there, and everyone's, we're all just singing pop songs, basically. So how do you differentiate yourself? I don't look at Amy Winehouse. You have a bouffant and some tattoos, and I guess sometimes that's enough, and, sometimes it isn't. It's a tough question, John.
But it's an excellent answer.
I don't know. It is frustrating that I'm really quite happy with the way my life has gone. I'm more frustrated for people I know who are so unbelievably talented. My friend Amy Fairchild is one of the most phenomenal singer-songwriters and performers, and that she's not a household name bewilders me. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to make of it. She's just, why is she not a household name? I don't know.
Yeah, and there are so many more with the same story to tell, I guess.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you do. I'm sure in your position you know way more than I do.
I saw you quoted somewhere as saying you love songwriting so much that you write songs in your sleep.
Yeah, I do. I do, and usually they're pretty bad. I wake up, sometimes I think, ooh, that was a really cool thing. And I have actually incorporated a couple, little bits and pieces into songs, things that became full songs. But usually they're just really bizarre. And sometimes I've actually even caught myself writing a song that's, a Madonna song or something else, where in my dream I've written something really brilliant, and I'm like, that's not mine. Not mine. But yeah, I do. I write from the minute I wake up, and sometimes, unfortunately, even when I'm trying to go to sleep, it prevents me from sleeping. I just get things stuck in my head, and I can't exercise them.
Does that mean they come easily to you?
Funny enough, no. Not really. Sometimes they do. Sometimes a whole song will just sort of flow into my brain, and it's just that easy, and most of the time, it's something that I walk around with. I have a song in my head for a couple of days, and as I take the subway, I'm thinking about it and refining it, and then I don't really sit down to the piano or the guitar until I've got a really solid verse and a chorus in my head and an idea of how I want it to sound. and then I sit down and I write it. But I'm not. I do a lot of writing for other artists as well. I do.
Yeah.
I write different types of songs, but I won't be cocky enough to say that it comes easily now.
No, but your songwriter's radar is always up looking for inspirations.
Not intentionally, but it's just yeah. I think we're like little petri dishes or something. Things that sort of splat onto us, and then I think, ooh, I need to write about that. I know I do have friends who carry around notebooks, and anytime any little idea comes in their head, they diligently write it down. I'm terrible that way. I don't ever take any notes. It's just if it's really important enough, it sticks, and then I write it.
Are there moments where it's not enjoyable, songwriting?
Yeah, there have been a few where I've been compelled to write with another artist or a writer where it just is like pulling teeth, and the good thing is that if you actually come up with a decent song, then it's really rewarding. But sometimes, and with two little kids, sometimes I'm just so tired, and I'm just like, oh my God, do I really have to go write a song now? And the thing is, once I actually sit down and start doing it, it becomes fun.
Reading through some reviews of your work, you've been compared to so many other women singer-songwriters. Is that frustrating for you at times, having writers reverting to those comparisons rather than describing your music on its own terms?
No, because that's all we really can do, isn't it? I mean, that's the only way we can really describe something is by comparing it to what we know, I think. And I find it amusing to see the artists that I'm compared to. It's such a varied and funny, I don't get half of them. Like, I don't even, where did you hear that? But, anywhere from Carly Simon to Annie Lennox, Sean Colvin, it's all female singer-songwriters, of course, but, which hopefully I'm not compared to too many male singer-songwriters. I know I have a low voice, but it doesn't bother me. I think that's, as human beings, I read somewhere that we're not capable of describing anything that isn't based on our references, on our experiences. It kind of makes sense, if people don't know me, the best way to get people to understand who I am is to compare me to people they might know. So
yeah, and I guess it's better than not having them talk about you at all.
Thank you. Exactly. Exactly.
What's the most unusual comparison you've read about your music?
I don't know. I think Tori Amos was pretty unusual because I mean, she's a prodigious piano player and has that wacky voice, and I just don't, and really different lyrics, and I'm actually a fan of hers, but I don't see any comparison. I just don't see any likeness between the two of us.
No, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find that too.
I don't. Yeah, none whatsoever. I mean, yeah, I play the piano. That does annoy me. That just because I'll play a song on the piano, people say, a Tori Amos. It's like, wait a minute. there's a lot of people who play pianos, and Tori Amos does her own thing. That is really, actually, to answer your previous question, kind of irritating when people just randomly throw things like that, just because I'm a woman and I play a piano. I wish I played like Tori, but there's no comparison there.
Do you take time out to read reviews of your music, and do you hold much credence to them?
I do read reviews just because at times I've needed them. You need them to, people ask you for reviews and things like that. I try to not buy into it, but I would be lying if I said I don't. It's, as a human being, you are affected by what people say about you, and it doesn't, I don't lose sleep over it. If someone says something, usually what gets me is, if they don't like things as much as I wish they would. I'm knocking on my wood table right now, had any, horrible reviews where anyone said, she's dreadful or anything. I've never had any that I know of, really bad reviews, so I've been lucky in that respect. I'm sure they might be out there somewhere, I just haven't seen them. But I try to not be too affected by the good reviews either, because it's all, I've heard great reviews about music that I just don't get, and where I go, what? That stuff is dreadful. How can you be raving about it? So it's all just personal opinions, and it doesn't hold that much water.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Now,
but it's nice to get a compliment.
Of course.
Always.
Now, you've already touched on this a little bit, but how much has parenthood changed the way you approach your music?
Well, it's changed the way I approach music enormously, in that I usually write from a struggle. I usually take struggle, and that's most of my songs are about trying to pull out of struggle and redemption and that kind of thing. And I have to say, I've been really happy since I've had these kids, and I really have to dig a little deep. Also, I'm very sleep deprived, which doesn't help. But it isn't. I don't write those happy, peppy, walking on sunshine type songs, and that's the kind of thing that I feel like I would be writing, and I don't have those songs. So it is definitely more of a challenge for me to feel something that I need to write about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to write really dorky songs about, how cute my kids are. That just doesn't, I do write those and I sing them to my kids, and it's all fun and games, but no one's ever going to hear those songs ever. Ever, 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 ever. But what has been good is I've been doing a lot of writing with other artists during this time, and God knows the struggles will come back. They do. They never really leave us. I think, as I said, I'm just sleep deprived, and I'm not really paying attention.
So you have noticed it affecting the type of song that you're writing?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have noticed that it has affected the type of song that you're writing?
Definitely, yeah. And when I was pregnant, both times people would say to me, other artists, oh, it's going to be amazing for you. You're going to find yourself writing so many more songs, and I can honestly say that's not true. That's not true at all. First of all, you don't have the time you had before. You certainly don't have the luxury of ruminating on things, and you really have to focus and set aside time to write and make that time. And it's, for someone who's just naturally written my entire life, it's really different to actually have to work within a structure, and that has very much affected my writing.
Yeah.
And these are the fluctuations of life, and right now I'm a little more focused on being a mommy, and these kids are growing so fast, and I'll have lots to say about it later.
That's right, yeah. I guess it's also put limits on the extent of your touring as well.
Oh, yeah, it definitely has. I did quite a bit of touring when my first son was born, and he loved to travel, and I actually did a show last night, and both of my kids came out, and it was really fun. But I just, I don't want to be away from them, and I certainly don't want to drag them around and displace them. I know people do that, and some kids probably flourish in that environment. I don't. My kids really like their little routine, and I really like to be part of it. And as I said, it's flying by so fast. I want to enjoy every moment of it, and I know in no time at all I'm going to be longing for it, and so I'm just trying to enjoy it now.
Yeah. So when you are performing live, is it primarily solo?
Last night I performed with guitarist David Patterson, and I had a drummer sit in on a few songs. So mostly acoustic. I mostly just sit down with the piano or guitar and do shows that way. And I'll be going to France in August, and we'll be doing a couple of shows over there as well.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I really have consciously tried to not book any shows right now, because rather than have all the stress attached to it, I'd just rather not do it and save it for when I'm really, really, really anxious to get out there and tour.
Yeah. So where would you like to see yourself in, say, 5 years' time?
Oh, man, that's a tricky question. I'm not sure. I would like both of my kids to be playing music, and I would like to be writing a lot more and performing more. I want to make another album. I think in 5 years' time, I want to be at least in the middle of finishing another album. Mm-hmm. That's where I want to be. Thank you for making me realize that. That is what I want to be doing. I need another album.
Yeah. Have you, any thoughts about what direction you're going to take with that at this stage, or way too early?
I have some thoughts. There's a producer and artist who I've always wanted to work with. He goes by the name of Preacher Boy. His name is Christopher Watkins, and he's just such an amazing artist and has a really great vision, and we've written together, and I always felt like my next album will be with him, so we'll see if time proves that to be true. But I would like to do just something, a real departure from the other things I've done. I feel like I've kind of done this, and I want to do something different.
Yeah.
Something a little more rooted, and maybe even bring back some of my jazz origins that I started out with.
Sounds good. Jenny, thanks so much for your time. It's been wonderful to catch up with you.
Thank you, John. It's just lovely of you to call, and I'm glad I got to chat with you. And I'm a big fan of a number of Australian artists, and it's really, I'm really touched.
Congratulations on the wonderful music you've come out with so far. We're loving it down here, and we look forward to more, and maybe we'll see you down here one day.
All right, and get some sleep.
I will. I'm home to bed now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jenny. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.